I'm making another top 10 list. I played just barely enough games this year to make a list out of them. We're looking at how much I enjoyed each one, and not necessarily how impressive they are as games. So with that established, number 10, Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom. As vast and impressive as the sequel to Breath of the Wild was, something about this game just didn't click this time around. Maybe it was the fact that I basically knew the whole map. Maybe there was actually just too much to do with the Sky Islands and depths, adding lots to explore, but not much to really engage with. Maybe the story was less interesting and even more repetitive. Maybe the controls were just too clunky. Maybe it was the sheer disconnect of this game from the one before it. Maybe it was all these things piled on top of each other. Whatever it was cool to be back in Hyrule, but after the intro, I was practically dragging my feet through the rest of the game, until it ended with an admittedly much stronger final boss fight. Number 9. Bread and Fred. This little buddy platformer is very cute and very charming. The platforming is tight and creative, and the game's assist mechanics keep it approachable without removing all of the challenge of making the climb up the mountain. Number 8. Legends of Runeterra. As I said about the Ruined King, I love the world of Runeterra and all of the characters and factions and stories held within it, but I'm not good enough at League of Legends to reliably enjoy it. Enter Legends of Runeterra's Path of Champions, a roguelite deck builder where you start with a small set of cards based around a single champion. As you progress, you're given options to add or remove cards from your deck, or to make your current cards stronger. The Path of Champions leans into the idea that if everyone is broken, then no one's really broken. And while the randomness built into the game can be a little frustrating at times, or the enemies can feel like they're downright cheating, you also get to feel like you're breaking the game when you build up stupidly powerful decks. The charm and lore of each character are still present in little card interactions, and the frequent updates add new characters and mechanics that keep the game feeling fresh. Number 7. Bastion. An oldie but a goodie. Bastion is the first game released by Supergiant Games and how I found the studio back in 2011. Its approach to gameplay wasn't particularly special, but its story and use of adaptive narration made it stand out from the crowd. I replayed it this year, and while its controls show their age a little bit, Bastion still holds its own as a gorgeous game that is well worth playing all these years later. If you're looking for a good action game with diverse weapon options, then Bastion will deliver just that, along with a compelling story that will leave you with something to think about. Number 6. Unpacking. Aside from unpacking boxes, I wasn't really sure what to expect from this one. I had heard good things about it and was mostly just curious. And to repeat what everyone else has been saying about it, Unpacking tells a really sweet story in an interesting way, using nothing but the objects the main character takes with her and the spaces she has to put them. By reading into the things she holds onto and where you're allowed to put them, you're able to learn a fair amount about her, despite her never being present in the actual game. Number 5. Cave Story. An even older oldie than Bastion, Cave Story is a classic freeware game that was made entirely by one person. It's a surprisingly full action platformer with lots of charm and character, and a simple but compelling story that leads you from level to level, blasting monsters and battling bosses. It's full of secrets and Easter eggs, and even has a few different endings. The characters are simple but likable, the levels and bosses are creative and challenging, and the soundtrack is timeless, being full of songs that have carved their melodies into my memory. Number 4. Metroid Dread. I played this back in 2021 when it was released, but didn't make a list that year, so I replayed it this year and I'm happy to say it still holds up. Metroid Dread is an excellent return for the franchise with nothing but improvements to the original formula. Moving and shooting are smoother than they've ever been, and boss fights are challenging but satisfying once you learn their patterns. Dread streamlines its progression with some conveniently placed teleporters, which some might find too easy, but I think it was a smart decision for a game that's going to be introducing a whole new generation to 2D Metroid games. I can't wait to see where the series goes next. Number 3. Inscryption. Inscryption is a fascinating, spooky deck-building roguelike, until it isn't. But maybe that's getting ahead of myself. You play as a hapless victim dragged into a board game all about making sacrifices. First with your cards, and later with other things. Outside of the board game, you are also trapped in a cabin with a scary figure who only exists as your opponent across the table. Between rounds, you're free to wander around the cabin and can interact with various puzzles and secrets that will in turn affect the game you're playing. Inscryption is a satisfying game to learn and rewards taking risks and paying the appropriate prices for power. Number 2. Hi-Fi Rush. Dropped out of almost nowhere at the beginning of this year, Hi-Fi Rush is a rhythm-based brawler that took the internet by storm for a time due to its quality, unique premise, fun characters, and lower price. Hi-Fi Rush has you playing as Chai, a wannabe rock star who signs up to receive a robotic arm from a big corporation. But instead of finding stardom, Chai finds himself on that company's most wanted list. Attack and block to the beat of the music as you platform and battle your way through rooms full of robots and traps. Hi-Fi Rush is action-packed, charming, and knows exactly what it wants to be. An energetic and goofy cartoon about taking down an evil CEO with the help of your friends and the power of music. If that sounds cool to you, then Hi-Fi Rush is exactly what you're looking for. Number 1. Little Gator Game. The cutest game that put the biggest smiles on my face this year. Little Gator Game is short, sweet, and so full of love that it bursts right out of the screen and into your heart. You play as a little gator kid whose older sister has just come back from college for a brief visit. Your goal is to start the biggest, coolest, and most awesome game ever across the whole playground so that she has to stop doing homework and play with you. After all, playtime means no grown-up stuff. It's not the most technically impressive, graphically stunning, nor intricately written game that I played this year, but I'll be damned if it didn't connect with me the strongest and bring the most pure feelings out of my soul. Pure joy, pure longing, pure nostalgia, pure fun. It was just pure fun, and I enjoyed it entirely from start to 100% finish. The movement feels great, and every little quest was so cute and charming that I enjoyed every bit of it. The tone is silly and childish, but also incredibly honest in a way that meant a lot to me. I got exactly what I wanted from Little Gator Game, and then a little bit extra. And that little extra is what I think put it at the top of my list this year. And there you have it, my top 10 games of 2023. It was kind of a weird one. Lots of old games. Aside from what's on here, I think Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance and Omega Strikers are the only other new games I played this year that weren't little apps or Discord activities. There would certainly have been more new games on here, but I've been meaning to find a new job before I get any more games, so that really slowed things down in the last 3 to 4 months. Anyway, like the video, leave a comment, make your own top 10 list, buy and play every game on this list, and see you later.